Hey guys, so finally some good news has come out for Hyliion. After seeing this stock drop from $50 down to sub $30 now, a lot of you are probably just praying for news that's going to stop the bleeding. And I think we could be nearing the bottom. So let's quickly take a look at the chart and then I'm going to go through the news that's been announced for you guys. Okay, I wanted to quickly look at the chart to give you guys my opinion on what's going on with Hyliion. So obviously we were trading at $10 way back in June. We spiked up to $30 and then we've retraced down to the $20 range and we basically consolidated around $20 for a month. And then Hyliion went on a wild run all the way up to $55. And then since then it's been on a downward trend. And then when the merger actually occurred, the stock just fell through the floor. It went from 53 and then now we're down to $29. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about the news update and then after, I'm going to talk about two scenarios that most of you guys are probably in right now. There's probably a large group of you that bought around the $20 mark and are wondering if you should sell and take profits. And then on the flip side, there's a lot of you guys that bought into the $40 and $50 mark and you're probably wondering if you should sell and cut losses or continue to hold. So stay tuned after I give you guys this news update and I'll give you my opinion on what I would do in those situations. Okay, so this news update was just released on October 8th. In this article, it talks about there being a lot of panic selling in Hyliion, which I agree with. It's been a pretty extreme sell-off in such a short amount of time. But the news is, according to local media, Kauai-based Agility Public Warehousing Company wants to invest more than $39 million in Hyliion shares through Cole Capital. Now, $39 million doesn't sound a lot, but this is a company that's only generating around $8 million right now in revenue. So what Agility is, they are a global logistics company providing freight forwarding, transportation, warehousing, and supply chain management services. So it does make sense to me that they're looking at Hyliion. And the great thing about this is that Agility is listed on the Dubai financial market. So they're an international company looking at Hyliion. And in my last video, I did talk about Hyliion needing some good news to stop this bleeding. I said at current fundamentals, the stock is not going to consolidate in the $40 range. I got a lot of hate on that, but I did say there's a very strong chance that Hyliion will score contracts and good news should be coming their way. And I think this is the first of lots of good news that's going to come to Hyliion. But do take in consideration, they haven't actually invested this 39 plus million in Hyliion yet. They're in the talks about doing it, and I would say there's a very strong likelihood of them making this investment. But with this news update, I don't think it's enough to just shoot Hyliion stock price up again. This is $39 million we're talking about, and Hyliion has a very large market cap. I think it's like above 3 billion still. So relatively small compared to their market cap. But this could help slow down the bleeding until Hyliion actually scores some bigger contracts or bigger investments with other firms as well. But as an investor, what do you do with news like this? Well, I should say the nice thing about Hyliion, they've never actually had bad news about the stock. And well, although good news is nice to hear, it shouldn't really change anything about the stock and how you plan on investing with it. So let me go through two scenarios on what I would do in my opinion. So if you're an investor that bought into Hyliion sub $20 or even in the $20 to $30 range, you really have two options. It's either you sell now for a small profit or you hold for the long term. But I'm guessing if you're still holding on to Hyliion after it's dropped over 30%, you're probably not trading the stock and you're looking at Hyliion as a long-term investment. So I'm sure taking profits is just off the table at this point, and I really wouldn't encourage taking profits after a 30% drop. So I would stick with that plan of holding long-term at this point. There's no sense taking profits in my opinion. But I've read a lot of comments on several different videos, and a lot of you guys did buy in the $40 to $50 range. Now I'm not going to give a speech about chasing the hype and chasing stocks after they've already surged about 500%, but let's actually talk about what you can do now after this big drop. So if you did buy in the $40 to $50 mark and you haven't sold yet and you're still holding on to the stock at sub 30, in my opinion, I would not sell yet. Your best hope now is for good news that could shoot this stock back up, and then it'd be up to you if you want to try to break even or continue to hold it for the long term. Or the other option is that Hyliion could continue to downward trend to the low 20s. And even then, definitely don't suggest selling. Either way, if you did buy in the $40 to $50 range, I wouldn't cut losses with this company. Nothing fundamentally has changed with them, and really nothing negative has come out about them. But without some big news, like a big contract, it could be a long time before Hyliion actually gets back to $50. If you look at previous bubbles in the cannabis space and just technology bubbles that have happened in the past, it can take years, so that's something that's really hard to predict. So I think it's just best to mentally accept that you are down on this stock right now, but long term it's still a viable play. So I would just accept it and hope that the CEO, Hyliion, and the Hyliion team continues to execute, and eventually you should be able to make your money back with this company, whether that's in a few months or a few years. Now with me, I'm not invested in Hyliion, but looking at what's going on with the stock right now, I've liked the company since day one, but I usually try to avoid stocks while they're in the hype. I either try to jump in pre-hype or after hype, after the stock has come down and consolidated in a reasonable range. Looking at Hyliion, I think it's a pretty strong buy at $20. At $20, that's when I really see the risk versus reward being really in the favor of reward, as I don't see this stock ever trading at $10 again, whereas its potential over the next 5 to 10 years could definitely be closer to the $100 mark. So that's a bet I'd be willing to take. But at $30, I would say the risk versus reward is pretty even. It has pretty good downside potential still, because the bleeding just doesn't seem to be slowing down, and the stock is still up almost 200 to 300% from the $10 range. Whereas the upside potential right now would really be me betting on news to boost the stock price up again, which I do think it's a more favorable chance that good news will come that could boost the stock price up, but it's just not a risk that I need to make, nor do I want to make right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this news update and these theoretical situations on how I would play Hyliion. Please drop a like on the video if you found this informative. It really helps out the channel. And feel free to subscribe if you want to see more Hyliion content. This is one of the stocks I cover on a weekly basis. And that's all I have for this video, so I'll see you guys in the next one.